The sound of hard breathing permeated the federal courtroom in Las Vegas as the judge delivered the final ruling. Rick Harrison and Chumlee Russell were overcome with horror as the weight of their sentences fell. The sad event, which exposed the intense emotions surrounding the case, left the audience stunned. Such a priceless moment appeared unthinkable to TV personalities who had dominated the screen for years. Everything changed suddenly and their public lives reached an unthinkable end when the final verdict was made public. But what led to this contentious and shocking interaction between the popular Pawn Stars characters and the court system? This acrimonious court conflict was not your average lawsuit. It was a struggle between image and reality, between beloved television stars and harsh facts. Here is everything you need to know about the court case that resulted in a major shock that changed how the public perceived the icons of History Channel. If you're interested in the little-known tale of the Pawn Stars and their intense court battle, don't forget to hit like, share this video so that others can learn, and comment below with your thoughts. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming, fascinating videos. Now let's dive into the story. Known for their conflicting personalities, historical knowledge, and unmatched ability to bring realism to every episode of the well-liked History Channel program Pawn Stars, Chumlee, Harrison, and Russell are two of the most important figures in reality television. Their 10-year broadcast career has been filled with noteworthy moments, such as high-stakes negotiations and historic discoveries, and remarkable interactions that have captured the attention of millions of people worldwide. But beyond their television achievements, their influence on the collectibles market, their contribution to popularizing history, and their conscious decision to build a tourism empire in Las Vegas paint a picture of entrepreneurs who transformed a small family pawn shop into a global phenomenon. Harrison's television career was built on his sound financial judgment, historical understanding, and unwavering commitment to the deal. Despite his initial skepticism about the show's concept, he refused to let it define him. Instead, he used his determination to build the gold and silver pawn shop and his television presence. As a result, he went on to become one of America's most renowned businessmen. His performances were praised by critics, solidifying his reputation as a shrewd but fair pawn industry player. Harrison is notable for his ability to engage viewers of different backgrounds by teaching them about historical artifacts in a thorough and approachable manner. Despite being well known for their television work, they showed their entrepreneurial drive through their side projects. After utilizing the show to build their own brand, they made millions by branching out into retail, restaurants, and personal appearances. This then became the subject of a legal battle that threatened to bring down their painstakingly built business. Following Pawn Stars' success, there was a major difference in the paths chosen by alleged unlawful corporations and genuine businesses. After the program's debut, the number of gold and silver pawn shops exploded, and today they are among the most popular tourist destinations in Las Vegas, attracting millions of visitors annually. They were a resilient example of the spirit of American entrepreneurship because of their well-known brand and cautious sales approach. Even while federal investigators encountered early challenges, the complex web of transactions spanning multiple states and corporate entities caused substantial hurdles. Finally, a small bit of definitive evidence emerged. The obvious discrepancy between the open commercial operations and the purported underground activities will ultimately cause tensions to increase. "We established this firm on expertise and fair agreements," Harrison frequently told reporters during the initial investigation. "But examination makes you stronger. I was determined to fully cooperate even though the accusations didn't seem to be related to our actual activity." This determination led to a more methodical and well-reported defense. Unlike many federal inquiry targets who may have refrained from speaking at all, Harrison and Russell claimed their innocence while remaining cautiously candid throughout the process. During news briefings regarding the probe's impact on their business, they garnered sympathy as victims of overzealous prosecution. The contrast was stark, with the public's support and the mounting evidence reaching previously unheard-of heights in the early 2020s. Fan groups asserting their innocence gained millions of followers while authorities secretly gathered financial data showing growing concerns over the appearance of a sophisticated criminal organization operating beneath the legitimate pawnshop company. However, Harrison and Russell were unable to cope with the mounting legal pressure, which threatened to expose their alleged operational issues. Their legal team responded by devising increasingly complex schemes. "Dealing with claims that are completely at odds with our public image has been tough," Harrison said in an unusually candid interview. "In the hopes that the public would find it adequate, we turned to what we knew best: truth and honesty." The prosecution's increasing emphasis stood in stark contrast to the defense's. By 2022, their public persona and the alleged unlawful activity were significantly at odds. Even while supporters insisted on their innocence, federal prosecutors had assembled a case involving more than 15 million illegal transactions and complex money laundering operations through the pawn shop, which would soon be made public in the most spectacular way possible. This ultimately led to criminal charges following years of investigation. During the 2022 audit of previously sealed financial data, forensic accountant Thomas Richards found these intricate transaction patterns in their company accounts. It is easy to spot systematic attempts to move illegal monies using legitimate corporate resources designed specifically to conceal their source. Richards provided clarification at a congressional hearing that was quickly circulating among financial crime experts. The financial records were discussed in the legal world as law enforcement looked into the complex web of transactions between the pawn shop and numerous shell companies. A week later, prosecutors revealed documents estimating the company had laundered around $15.7 million through complex systems designed to hide operations over an extended period of time. These were not simple errors in accounting. These structures required years of careful planning and maintenance, the senior prosecutor told the jurors. Harrison and Russell both played significant roles. This mounting evidence revealed an alleged financial criminal conspiracy, which was perhaps the final straw in the case. Within a few weeks, federal prosecutors had assembled a case against Harrison and Russell, who were found guilty of extortion and money laundering conspiracy. Might lead to a life sentence in prison. These accusations involved more than just money. Their well-established public image as informed, moral businesspeople who had achieved fame on television was seriously threatened by them. The legal activities sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry and have been characterized by experts as arguably the most significant case involving reality TV superstars in history. Court filings revealed shocking details about the alleged criminal enterprise that operated the pawn shop. Internal email from 2018 showed that a number of co-workers had actually sent cautions regarding the possibility of exposure. However, they were concerned about maintaining their reputation, so they made a conscious decision. Before any further transactions are conducted, it is recommended that the current structure be promptly reformed, because the risk of being discovered is too great. The trial's first day was impacted by Harrison and Russell's presence in the courtroom. Financial inspectors were clearly keeping an eye on everything they did as government lawyers piled mountains of financial documents in front of them. The beloved TV stars who had formerly entertained millions of people were now facing the legal repercussions they had avoided for so long. Your Honor, there is a massive organized money laundering plan at issue in this case. They started a comprehensive investigation while deliberately managing millions of dollars in illegal cash while presenting themselves as a legitimate business. The trial quickly became heated as recently discovered bank papers were presented in court. Harrison was seen shaking his head emphatically and occasionally leaning in to whisper to his lawyer as particularly distressing information was presented. Russell was increasingly agitated as the prosecution detailed his alleged involvement during the tense interrogation procedure. Agent Miller, did you testify that Mr. Harrison personally managed these transactions? The prosecutor asked. He signed all the essential documents. These signatures made it possible to establish shell companies specifically designed to conceal the source of the funds, and FBI investigators responded confidently. Particularly tense in the courtroom was the testimony on the duration of the purported operations. He claimed that without informing the prosecutor about the requirement for substantial financial planning and maintenance, these financial arrangements were intricate enough to imply deliberateness. Harrison, clearly angry, adjusted his glasses as the specialist responded sternly. Please keep my courtroom civil, the judge remarked. The intricacy of the alleged money laundering plan was confirmed by financial experts. The main objective of the architecture of these structures was to conceal the source of funding. Dr. Eleanor Jenkins, a forensic accounting expert from Georgetown University, testified. The multiple tiers of transactions have no legitimate commercial justification. The defense focused on the legal aspects of their business and potential misunderstandings of the complex financial arrangements, arguing that they had relied on professional advice and had no intention of committing any crimes. Their attorney said that their client had built an empire of legal firms with hundreds of employees and that these financial arrangements were implicitly recommended by experts they trusted. As the trial drew to a close, fans eagerly watched. This could not only turn into a legal battle, but it could also mean the demise of beloved TV personalities, whose genuineness and expertise had served as the foundation for their appeal. The trial's primary focus became financial forensics as a result of accountants tracking funds across years of transactions. The figures were perhaps more shocking than the amount of money laundered. With an estimated $15.7 million laundered through complex webs of shell firms, which are expected to operate at a cost of $2.3 million, and sophisticated accounting systems designed to conceal this activity, which raise operating costs by an additional $1.8 million. On the final day, supporters flocked to the courthouse, some holding Pawn Stars mementos and others sporting shirts bearing the Pawn Stars logo. The atmosphere was intense as Judge Eleanor Blackwood prepared to make the verdict after 8 weeks of testimony in the case against Harrison and Russell in the United States. If this news caught you off guard, share your biggest surprise in the comments section. If not, enter 0 in your comment. Let's continue this story now, together. The money-related proof. At the beginning of this court session, the judge gave serious consideration to the defendant's acts, transactions, and business operations over the preceding 7 years. The room was so quiet you could hear the rustle of papers, and Harrison and Russell were leaning forward, their fists clenched in front of them. The judge further stated, the court finds compelling evidence that the defendants engaged in systematic money laundering through sophisticated financial structures, particularly when establishing and managing shell companies designed to conceal the source of the illegal funds. Harrison's eyes widened, Russell went pale, and their relatives exchanged worried glances. On every count, both defendants were found guilty. Given the scope and intricacy of this operation, as well as the public's trust in the defendants' arguments, the judge stated confidently that the court must give the maximum sentence. The judge's ruling was clear-cut. Harrison and Russell would be sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of release after 25 years, and assets linked to criminal activity would be seized. The court sentenced both perpetrators to life in prison with the possibility of release after 25 years. The U.S. government will seize all assets linked to these illegal activities, the judge further declared. Reality struck them hard after they had spent 10 years building their television empire and become symbols of business vigor and historical understanding. They couldn't have foreseen this particular moment. Instead, it felt like the final installment of a series, as the harsh reality of a life sentence stood in sharp contrast to their carefully constructed public image. No one saw it coming. Russell's brow started to sweat and Harrison's face became white as the judge read the full ruling. Additionally, the defendants were required to pay full damages, and the judge's speech seemed distant due to the booming in their ears. When the courtroom began to whirl, their lawyers sensed something was wrong and touched their arm, but it wasn't enough. The beloved TV stars were now forced to deal with the legal repercussions they had long avoided after entertaining millions of people. Your Honor, there is a massive organized money laundering plan at issue in this case. The courtroom was trembling. The reality TV stars, who had once taken pride in their poise, were now rendered comatose in front of the prosecution and the public. They're having serious physical reactions, so make place for them, a doctor urged, pushing through the throng in the courtroom. A 911 call is placed. As medical workers rushed in, photographers captured the moment that would create headlines for entertainment throughout the world. The physical toll of their emotional distress at their legal setback finally set in, and Rick Harrison and Chumlee, beloved Pawn Stars characters, were carried away on stretchers. Family members were seen briefly comforting one another outside the courthouse, while History Channel executives remained frozen in shock and declined to comment as they were escorted by security. The medical crisis quickly overshadowed the court ruling. Social media and entertainment websites were inundated with responses as fans posted updates and messages of support using hashtags like PawnStars, Justice, Free Rick, and Chum. 3 days later, Harrison gave a statement through his lawyer. Still looking pale, but more restrained. We assert our innocence and will appeal this verdict with every available resource, he wrote with characteristic resoluteness. The truth will come to light eventually. The public narrative seems to have changed significantly as a result of health concerns. Remarkably, some former business associates voiced skepticism about the choice. According to an anonymous source, many Las Vegas residents felt the penalties were too harsh. Although government officials would not comment on the specific legal procedures or the possibility of an appeal, Russell's next statement was aggressive. This fight is far from over, he said through his lawyer. Despite the most challenging battle of our lives, we remain steadfast in our faith in the truth and the appeals process. The entertainment world was filled with speculation about what will come next. An experienced producer claims that this case has changed the landscape of reality television. Given the disparity between their public image and these charges, there are significant questions about authenticity in this genre. According to media observers, both men seemed prepared for a protracted appeals process. Fan forums soon were overflowing with conspiracy theories and other explanations. Their lawyers reacted coolly, even though legal experts warned that appeals encounter numerous challenges. The physical reactions you witnessed when they were asked directly about their clients' collapses in court show the profound shock of witnessing innocent individuals being unfairly punished. We remain committed to proving their innocence through the appeals process. The legal battle had suddenly become something more like a potential true crime story than a reality TV plot. Porn stars continued to attract a lot of attention in spite of the convictions, as evidenced by the increase in views that streaming services have recorded. After years of following the artists' careers, fans returned to watch shows in the hopes of finding unspoken clues regarding their secret lives. We may learn a lot from the case regarding the implicit gap between TV personas and reality. In the catastrophe that shook the entertainment business, males weren't the only ones who reached their breaking point. It might be the beginning of a legal story that will show whether their well-crafted public image can withstand the most trying circumstances. What are your thoughts on the shocking words from Pawn Stars? If you find this tale fascinating and would like to learn more about the Pawn Stars and their intense court battle, don't forget to hit the like button, share this video with your friends, and leave a comment below. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming, fascinating videos. I hope to see you at the next one, and thank you for watching.